Good morning. Welcome to the ESOC TV studio. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to this interlude where we will speak about the ESO involvement in the quality improvement projects to improve quality of care in ESO East countries. My name is Diana Guiar de Souza. I'm a member of the ESO Executive Committee, and I'm joined by Bart van der Worp, who is the past president of the European Stroke Organization, and Robert Mikulik, who is the chair of the ESO East project.
Good morning.
Bart, as you know, a survey back in 2017 showed huge disparities in the quality of stroke care across Europe. Do you think this is still an important problem now in 2022?
Yeah, Diana, I fully agree. This was a great concern, these disparities in stroke care across Europe. But fortunately, we have a great team in ESO working on how to resolve these disparities. And this team, ESO East, is led by Robert Mikulik. So, Robert, could you explain what ESO East is?
So, ESO East is a program to improve the quality of stroke services in Eastern European countries. It was started actually by ESO in 2015, and I was actually honored to chair this initiative since then. And really we know that there are quite disparities, and I think that there are more visible in Eastern European countries, and that's why it was actually started in this geographical region in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, did ESO East already have major successes?
I think that we have the countries, that basically started to build stroke unit services nearly from the scratch, I would say, and now they actually moved quite a lot, and they established a nationwide stroke services, stroke units, thrombolysis, and so I think that there are a lot of successes.
Yeah, and as most of you will know, Robert is also the founder and currently the leader of the Registry of Stroke Care Quality in actually, this is something across the world, and this is called Rescue. Robert, could you explain something more about Rescue?
Yes, so Rescue is actually one of the pillar stone of the ESO East. So basically there are three pillar stone. One pillar stone was to build the human infrastructure, meaning to put together all the people, all the stakeholders, national coordinators, steering committees, establish some communication, develop a strategy. Now the other pillar was actually to fill the gap in terms of our lack of knowledge about the quality of the stroke services. So when you want to improve something, you have to measure that. And we did not have any data about the quality. So that was actually the reason why we developed Registry of Stroke Care Quality, or the Rescue. It was originally aimed for the Eastern European countries. And as you said, I mean, now it's actually all over the world. We have actually more data now coming from the Asia than from Europe. It's also in the Latin America. It's going to be used for certification in Latin America. But going back to Europe, it's widely used in many countries. For example, I mean, in Czech Republic, we have all stroke centers that participate. It actually became the part of the national strategy. Now it became also the part of the Ministry of Health regulations. So we kind of like building this quality monitoring system, basically from the, it's a down-up approach. So we build it, as from the enthusiasm, and now it's actually going up to even like regulatory documents by ministries.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And how many countries are participating?
There are 77 countries.
Okay.
We have, I would say, broad participation from one half of the countries. So, yeah, I mean, for many countries, this is basically used as the national registry.
Okay, and how many hospitals?
There are 1,700 hospitals.
1,700.
Yes.
And you have data from many patients, I understood. How many patients? Could you give an impression?
Yeah, there is a 500,000 of patients.
500,000, that's great. And did you also already record some trends to success? Better quality?
Absolutely. So, for example, the way how we work is that, I mean, these data are, Rescue is a platform. So we as a rescue, collect this data only to give them back to people to use them, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole purpose. So for example, in Czech Republic, it's basically the whole data collection is organized by the Czech Stroke Society, and also Czech Stroke Society provide data back to the stroke centers. And it also creates the motivation, because once you start benchmarking, stroke centers once again each other, then it creates the motivation, because you see, who is lagging behind, you see, who is doing very well, you see what is the difference, what is the opportunity, basically, right?
Yes.
So just to give the example, with the door-to-nail time, with the stroke logistics, which was really our focus a few years ago, probably as everybody else is, we started to benchmark door-to-nail time of every stroke center in our country. And we were improving. Yeah, it had a tremendous effect, in improving. So we went from 65 minutes to 22 minutes, median.
Great success.
Yeah, median national door-to-nail time. And now we actually also documented that shortening door-to-nail time is actually improving the outcome. So this is going to be published in JAHA this year, and now we have this evidence, and we put it actually in the national guidelines. So now in the national guidelines, it says that the target door-to-nail time should be 20 minutes.
Okay, that's very good to hear.
Yeah.
Diana.
Robert, ESOC East is focused on targeted groups of stakeholders. Can you give us a brief overview of the overall implementation project, who is involved, and how do you coordinate and involve the national and the local institutions in the project?
Yeah, so the stakeholders are quite obvious, right? I mean, these are the hospitals in the first place, and people who work in the hospitals, and then there is some management, in a sense that there are some steering committees or professional societies like stroke societies, but then there are the other stakeholders like ministries of health. That's at least in Eastern Europe, that would be the one who is actually governing the stroke care in the country, and insurance companies, for example. So as I just gave you the example from our country, now we actually conceptualized, how we want to use the data many years ago, and we foreseen that that once we start collecting the data, they will become interest of ministries of health and insurance companies, and actually this vision now is coming true. So it's amazing because really now, for example, we have the data, about all these. Processes in the hospital, but these are the data that insurance companies do not have. They have the data, for example, about the outcome of stroke, but it's difficult to explain the outcome, the differences in the outcome, if you don't have this baseline data. Mm-hmm. So now we are actually trying to put all this, in Czech Republic, we are trying to put this data together, and we will we believe that we will be given a much more complex information about the quality of the stroke services, what can be improved and so on.
Congratulations on the success of the project.
Yes.
So this conference is indeed very special. For me, it has been really rewarding to see how much stroke science has progressed despite the challenges of the pandemic. Can you give us your highlights for the conference program today?
Oh, so yesterday, actually, I really liked the data about Connect Place. And in the same session today, I'm looking forward to that. So it's a large clinical trial session. Everybody's looking forward to that session, which will be in the auditorium at 10:30. I think that before that, there will be some awards. There will be some ESOC and the Angels Award. So it's also very exciting to see, all these achievements and people who get awarded. I think that in the same auditorium, there will be actually at 5 o'clock, there will be the session talking about what we are talking now today, about the disparities and about the challenges, how to improve stroke services. So that's I would recommend to visit.
So we are really looking forward, and we hope this increased the appetite of our colleagues for today's program. So thank you very much for this discussion, and over to you, Bart.
Yeah, thank you. You already mentioned Angels. This is another organization with an aim to improve stroke care quality. Also, firstly, I think in Eastern Europe, but now also across the world.
Yes.
So what is the relation between ESOC East and Angels?
So the Angels is the initiative to improve stroke services. They are they are working in a sense in parallel, towards the same goal. But I think that basically throughout the time, we actually built a lot of bridges and a lot of cooperation, and Angels actually are the part of the steering committee of the ESOC East. It's amazing how I would say little help, and I don't mean it in a wrong way. I mean that, for example, in Czech Republic, we have one person employed by the Angels. So from that perspective, it's a little help. But how such little help can actually make a huge change, in quality of health services. Because we as a busy physicians, we who are the members of the Czech Stroke Society, we get to meet, we talk, right? We have some plans, but we are lacking manpower. And one person who is the angel consultant, I mean, that person can actually execute, all these visions, and that's actually how we are achieving this change. And I think that this is basically the model that is also used, in the other countries in Eastern Europe, and angels are behind a lot of successes in Eastern Europe now.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. And so if there are people watching they think I would like to contribute to either ESOC East or Rescue, how should they do this? Should they send an email to you?
Yeah, absolutely, yes, so you can Google it. I think that we have 24 countries in ESOC East, so I believe that I think that most of the countries in ESOC East, in Eastern Europe, are actually being the part already. So I don't expect to have more countries, but definitely there is a huge opportunity for many hospitals to participate in quality improvement. So you can either go to the website of Angels, you can go to the website of Rescue, or you can just contact me directly.
Okay, and what could be the advantage of joining Rescue?
So the advantage is that once you start collecting data on performance, then you are being benchmarked against other hospitals, against national median, so you know how you perform. And then we collect all the quality metrics reflecting the guidelines, meaning that patients should go to stroke unit, should receive thrombolysis, thrombectomy, aspirin, and dysphagia screening, and so on. So I can tell you the example from our hospital because I wasn't aware about some issues that we had before we started to measure, and it was actually, in our case, it was dysphagia screening. Our dysphagia screening rate was 40%, and I wasn't aware of that at all, because when you talk to people, they will tell you, oh, everything is fine, we just do everything. But then it's actually not true. Right, and then once you have data, then you can start improving. And it took us several years actually to fix this problem, because it was about training people, training nurses. So now we are basically going to 100%. But it would never happen if you don't measure. I mean, it's like in the sport. If you don't measure your performance, you wouldn't improve.
No.
Right, so that's the same concept. It's very easy. So we are benchmarking our life all the time, and I think that this concept should become the part of our medical routine.
Yeah, great. Diana, any other questions to Robert?
I think we can close now the session.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for watching. We are looking forward to this to today's sessions. There will be many highlights, much good science, and many interesting lectures. So we hope you will enjoy today's ESOC as well. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.
Thank you. Goodbye.